Part 57. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 579. Sunangzio sat next to Lu Chang'an and looked at his profile. The corners of his mouth were slightly turned up, his nose was pretty, and a few stray strands of hair hung in front of his forehead, making him look a little more boyish than before, and less tough than he had been in the past. In college, boys like this are indeed more popular. Sunangzio has noticed that since she, Zhu Huntang, and Lu Chang'an stood outside the teaching building, girls have repeatedly paid attention to him. There are probably as many girls in this school who have a crush on him as there are sycamore trees on campus. Sunangzio saw the smile on Lu Chang'an's face, and he shook his head gently, with a gentle curve at the corner of his mouth. Sunangzio knew that he was looking at Zhu Huntang, probably thinking that this dead girl was stupid and funny. Thinking of Zhu Huntang, Sunangzio frowned involuntarily. The grounding seemed to be of no use to her, but if Zhu Huntang was not punished for his nonsense today, Sunangzio would not be willing to do so. I heard that you are spying on me, Lu Chang'an asked after a while. Sunangzio came back to her senses and looked a little surprised. Who did you listen to? My guess. It's nothing. Sunangzio took out a small fan from the cloth bag, shook it, and said with a smile, why should I spy on you? Wearing a fan in the middle of winter, your character will remain unchanged for 100 years. Lu Chang'an also said with a smile. What doesn't change for 100 years? Sunangzio calmly took out his ID card from the bag and placed it on the edge of the table. I'm only 14 years old. After the conversation ended, Lu Chang'an began to flip through the book. After class at noon, Lu Chang'an sent a message to Qinyanan, asking if there was anything to eat. Qinyanan only replied with one word, and Lu Chang'an walked up the mountain. I don't want to go to the cafeteria to eat today because I haven't tasted Qinyanan's cooking for a while, although it is very likely that Sister Lan is cooking now. When I arrived at Qinyanan's home, I saw Sister Lan taking care of an orchid in the pool between the bedroom and the living room. Sister Lan seems to be very particular about taking care of orchids. Literati in ancient times often did this. For example, they named the boy who was responsible for grinding ink Nong Mo, and when he warmed the bed, he might call him Nong Yu. There is a piece of transparent glass above the pool. You can see the blue sky and the stars. In this season and weather, you can only see the drifting fog. There is shallow water in the pool, with black and white round pebbles at the bottom. There are several pots of orchids placed on the floating plate in the center, and there are several daffodils in the pool that have already grown flower buds. Miss Jean is in the kitchen. Sister Lan is a plump woman. Stepping barefoot in the pool may remind some novelists and artists who always want to express their sadness to think of the feeling of peeking at the neighbor's new daughter-in-law when they were children, and give them some inspiration. Create some rich and fat style works. Lu Chang'an walked to the kitchen. Qinyanan was wearing a short skirt, vest, and apron, and was stir-frying a pot of frogs. There was some beads of sweat on her forehead, and her hair might be swaying as her wrists shook. The gentle temperament of a housewife was completely different from her usual. There are frogs to eat. Lu Chang'an came over. Are you Shangguan Dandan? Qinyanan said without looking back. What? Qinyanan did not explain anything. I have XX to eat. This sentence pattern seems to be commonly used by Shangguan Dandan, such as I have meat buns to eat. I'm having a good time today. Lu Chang'an slapped his girl. Sister Lan was working on those flowers. I didn't have time, so I took over. It was just your timing. Qinyanan explained expressionlessly that she didn't cook specifically because he was coming to eat. What happened last time was due to my lack of consideration. Seeing that she was still full of resentment, Lu Chang'an apologized. Men should be good at apologizing and have the courage to apologize. Apologizing to your wife is the wisdom of life. Apologizing to your boss is a sign of maturity. Apologizing to a friend is a diplomatic attitude. Apologize to your lover, that is the need of taste. Apologizing to your children is your strategy as a parent. Apologize to my sister, that is the famous love story of a brother and sister surnamed Lee who are not biologically related. What's the matter? I forgot. Chinyanan's tone remained unchanged, and she even turned around to show him a stiff smile. When a little girl grows up, it is not so easy to accept an apology. Alas, Lu Chang'an thought of the little girl back then. Every time she went to visit her brother, she would talk about how cruel she would be and how she would complain about him because she was late, and then she would run and jump towards her when they met her. Just forget it. Lu Chang'an was still very happy. Qinyanan resisted the urge to give him a look, because many times when a woman is really angry, she refuses to look at a man without expression. When she starts to give him a look, she is willing to make eye contact with you and give you a look. It's time to try to figure out what to do next. Qinyanan was so angry with him last time that he didn't come to coax her for so long, and she came to her door only when she wanted to eat the food she cooked. Forgive him so easily? Then he might be more aggressive than ever and not take her feelings seriously. He comes from a wealthy family, like Zhu Huntang, but under normal circumstances, he has some special talents in the art of charioteer. No, this is not the art of charioteer, this is the art of charioteer. Lu Chang'an didn't seem to have anything to do. He stood in the kitchen and watched Qinyanan cooking. Fortunately, Qinyanan was not like some clumsy rich lady. She had a good skin, but she might fry a steak and make it a failed barbecue steak. Soak it up. There are over 100 steps involved. Qinyanan finished cooking and handed the plate to Lu Chang'an. She took off her apron, went back to her room to blow dry her hair, changed her clothes, and then sat back at the dining table without any fuss. Knowing that you were coming, Miss Jean sent me to grow flowers and cook herself. Her cooking skills are much better than mine. Sister Lan has the wisdom of an adult and speaks out for others appropriately, lest the other party cannot understand. To love. Sister Lan, what are you talking about? You are obviously going to plant flowers. Let me help. Qinyanan's cheeks turned red. She glanced at Lu Chang'an and found that he was looking at her. The blush on her cheeks suddenly spread to her neck. Hurriedly lowered his head to eat. Yes, yes, Sister Lan chuckled. It feels so good to be in love, but the one in her family is not bad either. He can satisfy her motherly nature and sometimes she can be pampered like a little girl. Eat, eat, Lu Chang'an greeted. It was rare to have frogs to eat. These frogs should be farmed and taste better than those caught in the fields before. After all, wild frogs have an earthy smell that needs to be eliminated. It is inevitable to add some seasonings. Affects the original flavor of food. I recommend a super good looking novel. I'm not a super policeman. Xiahua is also reading this book. It is really not a plot and character that ordinary urban authors can write. It can give many short videos such as Duyan and Kuai Shao. Friends who experience life have rich and realistic experiences. You all can't guess how many updates I will make today. I'd be scared to death if I told you. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 580. After eating, Sister Lan cleared away the dishes and went to work in the kitchen. Qinyanan stood up and stretched. I went to the library for a meeting in the morning, and I still have some things to do in the office. Qinyanan picked up his coat casually, not planning to change any more. Okay, I'll take your car back to school. Lu Chang'an just came to see her. Lu Chang'an already knew her physical condition after the last checkup. It is relatively stable at present, unlike ordinary pregnant women who need it from time to time. Check it out. As for women being angry, there is no use in apologizing blindly. They sometimes act angry, not because they still have many grievances that have not been vented, but because they want to continue to show him. At this time, Zhu Huntang came upstairs, and he was not surprised to see Lu Chang'an here. I saw you walking this way, but I drank a bowl of porridge first to warm my stomach. Zhu Huntang originally wanted to follow Lu Chang'an to visit Qinyan and to play, but the porridge prepared in the kitchen today was delivered on time at noon. Gave Zhu Huntang a smell of the aroma, and Zhu Huntang decided to rest in the RV for a while, drink porridge before going up the mountain. What kind of porridge? Lu Chang'an asked smoothly. Crab meat porridge, king crab, or king crab. I forgot. Zhu Huntang is not interested in the ingredients. She only needs to be responsible for eating. As for which ingredient is the best choice, that is something that only the cook needs to know. That was probably a king crab. Lu Chang'an glanced at Qinyanan. Okay, let Sister Lan prepare it next time. Qinyanan understood the look in his eyes, but she still snorted to indicate that she wouldn't cook it for him. Sister Lan would make the porridge then. In the cold and humid winter in the south, drinking a bowl of good nutritious porridge can keep you warm all day long. The crab shell of the king crab is rich in oil. The rice is soaked in the extracted oil, and then the whole crab is used. The tender meat is ground up and supplemented with other ingredients. After cooking, there is no other meat except the rice grains. It is like a porridge with only white rice, but the meat is sweet and delicious in the mouth, and the taste is excellent. Even a little fairy like Zhu Huntang can drink a whole bowl at one time instead of just 2 or 3 spoons as usual. I'm so full. What are you going to do? Zhu Huntang saw Qinyanan and Lu Chang'an both getting up. I have to go to the office in the afternoon. Qinyanan actually had nothing important to do. You go to class in the afternoon, Lu Chang'an said to Zhu Huntang. You have been doing better recently. I am thinking that next time you may not only be grounded, but your mother will invent some new punishment sooner or later. You are so kind to remind me. Is there a conspiracy? Zhu Huntang looked at Lu Chang'an suspiciously, his eyes turning around, thinking that there must be a conspiracy. Pretend I didn't say anything. Lu Chang'an simply sat down. Come on, everyone, don't go to school, let's play cards. Play cards, Zhu Huntang greeted Qinyanan. As long as he doesn't go to class, anything he does is more fun. Okay. Qinyanan looked at the time and sent a message to Eugen, asking him to help fill out the form and invite him to tea next time. As for when the next tea will be, of course it has not been decided. The schedules of goddess-level girls are very full. Maybe the next tea will be a small gift for him, probably somewhere in Europe. It's an old item bought from a very artistic shop in a small town. It's pretty good, isn't it? Of course, Qinyanan asked Eugen for help, which was a mutual help between colleagues, not a goddess and a spare tire, and cannot be generalized. What cards are you playing? Qinyanan asked again. Sister Lan went to bring a plate over, which contained a box of mahjong, 2 boxes of bridge cards, and a box of calligraphy cards. Fighting the landlords, Zhu Huntang said happily. She was not very good at running the beard that Lu Chang'an often played. The rules of mahjong were different, but the landlords' fighting was more international. Okay, let's have some luck. Qinyanan had no objection. Lu Chang'an is fine. Zhu Huntang stared at the ceiling in trance for 10 seconds. Let's do this. The loser must wear a pair of stockings, and the winner can tear them off after he puts them on. Zhu Huntang thought of the lottery and looked at Lu Chang'an with sparkling eyes. If Lu Chang'an loses, he can let him put on stockings, and then use small scissors to cut and tear them to humiliate him. Are you stupid? Qinyanan hit Zhu Huntang angrily. You just think you won. What if you lose? I will always win. Zhu Huntang refused to accept it. Could it be that he couldn't win at all? That's impossible. From a probability perspective, she will always catch an invincible card like 2 ghosts and 4 twos. As for her own defeat, Zhu Huntang no longer cares. She has been humiliated anyway. As long as she can fight back once and make Lu Chang'an feel the same, that is enough. Don't play. I don't have that many stockings for you to lose. Qinyanan knew that Zhu Huntang could not bring a lot of stockings with him, and Zhu Huntang's stockings were all collection level, and every pair of her stockings was dear to her heart, so Zhu Huntang what he was thinking about must be toying with the socks that Qin Yan'an prepared every day. Don't you want to play too? Zhu Huntang said to Lu Chang'an, giving Lu Chang'an a sneaky look. Don't you want Qin Yan'an to lose? No fun. Lu Chang'an was not so bored. He originally would kill Zhu Huntang's little socks because it was the only way to make Zhu Huntang's memory long, not because he had any interest in this area. Now it seems that Zhu Huntang does not have a long memory, just like grounding does not allow her to have a long memory. This fairy sheep is really the same as some stupid sheep. Few people know that sheep are actually cattle with more hair and smaller bodies. All sheep are bovids of the order Artiodactyl. Sheep equals ox temper equals unable to talk or persuade equals Zhu Huntang. As expected, I only called the wrong name, not the wrong nickname. Are you playing with money? You two have no money, one is poorer than the other. Zhu Huntang looked at Lu Chang'an and Qin Yan'an dissatisfied. Also, Yaya, why are you standing with him? You should support my advice. I was standing alone, but he wanted to stand with me against you. Qin Yan'an must make it clear that she is not catering to Lu Chang'an. Let's play duct tape. Lu Chang'an thought for a while. The winner can choose to use 50 centimeters of tape to wrap up the loser, including but not limited to the mouth, but it cannot make the loser lose the ability to play cards. After all, if it gets wrapped around your hand, you won't be able to continue playing. I won't play, you pervert, Zhu Huntang refused excitedly. I think it's okay. Qin Yan'an thought for a while, looking forward to Lu Chang'an being unable to move. It's not as perverted as yours of wearing stockings and tearing them off. Unless it has fruity, fragrant tape, you are not allowed to stick it on my mouth, Zhu Huntang requested. I'll contribute my handbook tape. Qin Yan'an went back to the bedroom and took out a box of tape. These tapes are not common plastic transparent tapes, but handbook tapes with various patterns, styles, and colors. They are generally used to decorate notebooks and collage pictures. Handbook tapes also have circles, which can be used by big hands. All kinds of hand tapes are collaged together to form a beautiful painting. When I lose later, you can only use the tape with the fairy pattern on it to deal with me. Zhu Huntang pointed to a particularly beautiful roll of tape and said delicately. Didn't you just say you wouldn't play? Qin Yan'an gave her a roll of his eyes. If it's such a beautiful tape, I can accept it. Don't you think that a beautiful little fairy like me, wrapped in such a fairy-style tape, has a strange beauty? Zhu Huntang imagined it for a moment and waited. If you lose a lot, let Qin Yan'an take a photo of yourself, which should also be very artistic. I want to use transparent tape, Lu Chang'an insisted. Using transparent tape to wrap Zhu Huntang into a mummy is my goal this afternoon. No, Zhu Huntang objected loudly. This Lu Chang'an was too hateful. The fairy turned into a mummy. He just didn't want her to become a fairy. Okay, the winner can use whatever they want, and the loser shuts up. Qin Yan'an added, the person who is taped, if he wins the next round, he can choose to tape someone else, or he can choose to take the tape off yourself. Agree? Agree. Seeing that the three of them had no private words to say and no intention of letting her avoid them, Sister Lan took the wool and knitted a sweater aside while watching the three children playing with a smile. I recommend a book, I Repair Cultural Relics for the Country. It is a very interesting book. You can read it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 581. Qin Yan'an lowered the height of the sofa. She and Zhu Huntang sat on the sofa, because she felt that Zhu Huntang would be wrapped with tape several times first. If she sat on a chair or stool, she might not be able to sit firmly, so she added a few cushions to the sofa. And pillow, it is more convenient to lean on and adjust your posture. I'm going to stick you on the wall. Zhu Huntang was not afraid. He said harsh words first anyway, so he couldn't lose his momentum. Thinking about Lu Chang'an being stuck on the wall with tape and unable to move, it was very satisfying. Lu Chang'an nodded. Human beings have a higher status in nature and are higher organisms. It is very difficult for higher organisms to understand the words and deeds of lower organisms. This kind of incomprehension sometimes becomes fun. For example, people love to see videos of huskies doing stupid things. Zhu Huntang was clearly dealt with by Lu Chang'an many times, but he took the lead in making enemies and provoking Lu Chang'an. Can normal people understand this choice? As expected of a sheep. I will turn you into a mummy. Lu Chang'an was not provoking, but just clarifying the facts of what was about to happen. Every time she cleaned up Zhu Huntang, it was a reflection of the meaning of her existence. If I win, I will tape your two mouths first. Qin Yinan was not to be outdone. She felt that she might have an advantage because she was wearing stockings. The surface of the stockings was very smooth and the tape might not stick. In the first hand, Zhu Huntang grabbed the landlord. The first hand doesn't count. Zhu Huntang looked at his cards and then threw them away. Lu Chang'an and Qin Yinan looked at her together. There is no doubt that Zhu Huntang's dishonest tactics aroused Qin Yinan's feelings of hatred and hatred. Originally, Qin Yinan wanted to be fair and just. Okay, Lu Chang'an nodded. He was not in a hurry. He was very patient. Anyway, Zhu Huntang was like a salted fish on the chopping board. No matter how much she jumped around, she would always be cut into pieces. Qin Yinan also told her. After all, he couldn't beat her up, so he might as well coax her to continue playing and then wrap her up like a mummy. Zhu Huntang succeeded in cheating, so he grabbed the cards a little proudly, and grabbed the landlord in the second hand. The cards were not bad. He stretched his neck and took a peek at Lu Chang'an and Qin Yinan's cards. He found that his own seemed to be better, so he immediately warned Qin Yinan and Lu Chang'an. This is the end of it. After being bombed by Lu Chang'an and then dealt a straight, Zhu Huntang was very upset because she had a bigger bomb, but she just saw that after Lu Chang'an played the bomb, he still had so many cards. He just wanted Lu Chang'an to make another move, but he didn't know that the card he randomly inserted was a straight. She clearly saw that it was a loose card. This Lu Chang'an is so cunning. This one has to be settled. You just said it. Qin Yinan couldn't help but smile. She didn't play any of the cards. The two of us won, so everyone can put a piece of tape on you. Lu Chang'an brought over the transparent tape. Qin Yinan was more conscientious and took the tape with the ancient fairy pattern that Zhu Huntang had originally designated. You guys bully me together. Zhu Huntang made a pitiful look, trying to win sympathy, and his eyes were moist. But no one was deceived by her poor acting skills. Originally, Qin Yinan wanted to be merciful and let her go the first time, but who told her to cheat in the first place? Lu Chang'an ignored her and pulled off 50 centimeters of tape, not a centimeter more, not a centimeter less. Don't touch your mouth, don't touch my hair, don't touch my hands, Zhu Huntang warned in a panic. This was not the first time Lu Chang'an had dealt with her like this, but she was still a little nervous. Lu Chang'an pointed to her feet. Zhu Huntang quickly kicked off his shoes obediently, put his feet together, and raised a few toes. When Lu Chang'an reached over, he wanted to pinch Lu Chang'an with his toes. Unfortunately, he was wearing socks, which hindered Zhu Huntang's attack. Lu Chang'an hit her, and Zhu Huntang cried out in pain and finally calmed down. Zhu Huntang blinked and saw Lu Chang'an binding her feet. She felt a little humiliated, but it had no impact on her current actions and high-spirited fighting attitude. I'm going to stick it on and then tear it off later, and tear off all the hair on your legs, Zhu Huntang continued to speak cruelly to Lu Chang'an. Are you wearing socks because you are afraid that others will tear the hair off your legs? Lu Chang'an suddenly realized. No. I don't have leg hair. Zhu Huntang quickly stated that Oriental girls basically have thin skin and tender flesh, and there is no hair on their legs. Only European and American girls are plush and have a lot of body hair, so no shaving cream can remove the hair. The products are more popular in Europe and the United States. Seeing that Lu Chang'an was done, Qin Yan'an smiled and was about to seal Zhu Huntang's mouth. It turns out that you were the most ruthless to me. It turns out that sisters are all unreliable. Zhu Huntang discovered Qin Yan'an's intentions and resisted very much. She still kept her mouth open to provoke them, attack them, and ridicule them. Okay, then I'll stick it just above your ankle. Qin Yan'an was just trying to scare Zhu Huntang. She discovered that Lu Chang'an was planning to turn Zhu Huntang into a mummy in circles from bottom to top. She can help Lu Chang'an speed up the process. You are still living like a married woman. Zhu Huntang immediately laughed at Qin Yan'an after realizing that he had temporarily escaped the danger of being silenced. Wait, Qin Yan'an blushed slightly, glanced at Lu Chang'an, and found that he had no reaction or looked over, so he calmed down his slightly shy expression. He didn't even look over, so what should he do? Looks like a girl with a blushing face and a heartbeat. As the card game continued, Zhu Huntang vowed to take revenge this time, and at the same time shuffled the cards himself to prevent Lu Chang'an from cheating by using some shuffling and cutting techniques. This time Lu Chang'an became the landlord and defeated both of them. You owe me this one, and I win the next one. How about I put a meter of tape on you? Lu Chang'an asked Zhu Huntang for permission. Zhu Huntang nodded hurriedly. Lu Chang'an tore off another 50 centimeters of tape and wrapped it around Qin Yan'an's calf without any explanation. Qin Yan'an stared at him aggrievedly, and there was no pause in his movements. Fortunately, she had shared the same hatred with him just now, and she felt that she and him were somewhat of an ally. Haha. Seeing Qin Yan'an being entangled, Zhu Huntang felt particularly happy and gloated. Then Lu Chang'an won again, and he was still the landlord. This time he tied Zhu Huntang's head with tape, leaving only his mouth and eyes exposed. Qin Yan'an laughed so much that she fell on the sofa. Looking at Zhu Huntang's stupid look, the more she looked at it, the funnier she became. She couldn't help but cover her belly, laughing until her stomach hurt. Is it so funny? Zhu Huntang glared at Qin Yan'an. If you were pregnant, you wouldn't have to go to the hospital. If you laugh like that a few times, the baby will laugh out loud. Zhu Huntang originally wanted to say pee-pee, but she laughed out loud, but a fairy cannot say that in front of the opposite sex. Qin Yan'an stopped laughing, sat up straight, and glanced at Lu Chang'an as if nothing had happened. The speaker was unintentional, the listener was intentional, and you had some reaction too. Speaking of babies being laughed out of, it's not uncommon. The daughter of a poker friend was raising a baby at her home. She came to the mahjong parlor to help her mother play a few rounds. As a result, she lost her temper one time while playing. A big one laughed so hard that the amniotic fluid broke, and then the baby fell out. Fortunately, I was there, so I helped her deliver the baby. Lu Chang'an recalled with interest, so don't worry, I will deliver the baby. I'll pick you up. Qin Yan'an had no choice but to move over the sofa because her legs were entangled. She suppressed her laughter and slapped his arm several times with a straight face. Was this the reaction she wanted? Anyway, if the gestational sac in her belly can really become a baby, it will definitely not be a good-looking scene if she is killed without Lu Chang'an coming to deliver the baby. Is it so easy to give birth to a baby? Zhu Huntang asked incomprehensibly. I swore when I was a child that I would never give birth to a baby. Even fairies don't give birth to babies. Your idea is right. Lu Chang'an expressed support. Of course, it was rare that Lu Chang'an agreed with his point of view. Zhu Huntang touched the tape on his head and held his head up proudly. We need eugenics and good education. Poor brains might be hereditary. Zhu Huntang rushed over desperately, but unfortunately she forgot that her calf was entangled. She just tried to stand up and fell on the sofa. She could only lie there and glare at Lu Chang'an. Should we fight? Qin Yan'an urged. She wanted to take revenge. She also thought about Lu Chang'an coming again in the future. At that time, because it had been a long time, she could naturally act less angry when she was alone with him. It might be more interesting to play this kind of game with him without Zhu Huntang. The reason why it is more interesting is of course that Zhu Huntang likes to cheat and has no brand name. Then the fourth round started, and Lu Chang'an won this round. What's going on? You're cheating. Zhu Huntang felt that it was unfair when he saw that the biggest card he had was just an A. Qin Yan'an also acted like a fool and kept checking cards for Lu Chang'an. Zhu Huntang reached out and took a look at Qin Yan'an's card. It was slightly better than Zhu Huntang's. It was only a 2, which was the biggest, and it was also a bad hand. Why don't you two hit his ace? Zhu Huntang taught Qin Yan'an how to play cards. I only have a 2, it was just a big card, and Qin Yan'an couldn't bear to play it. But, what's the use of keeping it? Pig teammate Zhu Huntang felt that she could only win by being the host herself, and she was still very confident. Lu Chang'an had already torn off the tape and wrapped it around Zhu Huntang's legs without any explanation. These fairies have thin legs, so there is no need to waste too much tape. It's over, I'm about to become a mummy. Zhu Huntang looked down at his calf that had been wrapped twice. It didn't look like there was any strange beauty at all, and it had nothing to do with the artistic beauty expressed in those bondage-themed photos. You already are. Qin Yan'an took out her mobile phone and showed Zhu Huntang her own face. Zhu Huntang looked at the tape on his head and bit his lip. After 3 seconds, he still laughed so much that he fell on the sofa. You're going to make the baby laugh. Qin Yan'an took the opportunity to respond to Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang touched his belly and found that there was no baby inside, only crab meat porridge. I would like to recommend the work My Best Friend Time Traveled by Whitebeard Su Timo. Everyone who has read it said it is good, ha 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 ha. I hope you all enjoy watching it. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 582. After playing cards all afternoon, Zhu Huntang was finally entangled into a mummy. Her mouth was only taped during the penultimate hand of cards. At the end of the last hand, her hands were entangled by Lu Chang'an, and the card game was officially announced. Finish. At this time, her arms were already covered with tape, and the skirt was replaced by Qin Yan'an's close-fitting cotton shirt. Otherwise, the skirt would be fluffy, and the tape would not feel tightly bound when the tape was applied, which the winner did not feel when the tape was applied. What a sense of accomplishment! Qin Yan'an's close-fitting cotton shirt is worn on Zhu Huntang, which looks a bit like a skirt. It makes Zhu Huntang, who is wearing stockings, feel like a normal cute girl. Her whole body is covered with transparent or tapes of different colors, and she has a small face. Only the wet eyes were exposed, looking pitiful. Both Lu Chang'an and Qin Yan'an took a few photos as souvenirs. My friend, when you are drunk and act ugly, when you fall down and eat shit, when you cry for your father and mother on the glass pier, when your brain is broken and you are stupid, I will take pictures and videos of you and get them immediately. Post it on Moments and share it with those people who will show it to you from time to time in the future. I won't send it out. When she troubles me in the future, I will send it to her mother. Her mother will be angry when she sees it, and then she will get angry at her too. Qian saw that Lu Chang'an's goal had been achieved. Zhu Huntang stared, speechless. This vicious, cunning, ferocious, cruel, inhumane evil man, who can even attack the beautiful and lovely fairy sheep. Is there any more love? She is so cute, she should be a nationally protected animal like the giant panda. You are so bad. Qin Yan'an slapped Lu Chang'an, then looked at Zhu Huntang's increasingly angry expression with a smile, and added a theme with elements from the movie The Mummy to the photo he took, which was released in June this year. Qin Yan'an showed the photo to Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang was twisting on the sofa like seaweed again. It was obvious that this style did not suit her at all. It doesn't look like the restraint of the artistic style she is pursuing, but looks like the ugly and silly zombies in Plants vs. Zombies. Help her untie it. Lu Chang'an waved his hand compassionately. Qin Yinan came to cut it with small scissors, and Sister Lan also came to help because it was too tangled. I, I, I will never play with you again. Zhu Huntang began to cry loudly as soon as the tape on his mouth was torn off. It's like a child. You are the one who wants to play, and you are the one who doesn't. You either play tricks or cry. How can there be a fairy like you? Qin Yinan rolled her eyes at her. It's not like you were tied up like this and you would say sarcastic words, Zhu Huntang said with a sniff. Okay, if you encounter interesting abnormal creatures or something in the future, I will take you to play. Don't cry, Lu Chang'an said. Okay, Zhu Huntang stopped crying. Lu Chang'an still had things to do, so he didn't stay here to eat and walk down the mountain. I don't know what to say about you. You cry every time you are punished by Lu Chang'an, and then you don't remember it for a long time. I will provoke him again next time. Isn't it fun? Qin Yinan helped Zhu Huntang pull off the tape. Said angrily. I just want to deal with him one day, Zhu Huntang said, wiping his eyes as red as a little rabbit. You are just like a gambler who loses money. They always want to make up their losses, but in the end they lose more and more, and they will never be able to turn around again. Qin Yinan put the tapes together, making it a big pile. Sister Lan took it tape to put the trash can, and then go down the mountain to buy groceries. Am I the same as ordinary gamblers? Of course they lose more and more. I'm not happy when I lose. I can buy a casino and play alone. Zhu Huntang didn't take it seriously, but showed a thoughtful expression and rolled his eyes. Come and go. Stop imagining things. Seeing Zhu Huntang's expression, Qin Yinan knew that she was thinking of another way to regain her position with Lu Chang'an. You said that if I invite those people on the Las Vegas blacklist to play cards with Lu Chang'an, can I deal with Lu Chang'an? Zhu Huntang already has some ideas. No, those people are strongest in their psychological quality, on-the-spot adaptability, and game level. If the levels are similar, the most important thing to compete for is luck. Didn't you see that in serious poker competitions, their cards are all miscellaneous? Do you want to win against some random guy? Do you think that like in the movie, they just rub each other and get a flush? Qin Yinan pointed to her little skirt. Are you staying here tonight, or are you going back? I live here, and I want to sleep with you. After Zhu Huntang said that, he climbed onto the sofa and hugged the pillow. He had been humiliated today, and he always felt uncomfortable if he didn't do something to retaliate against Lu Chang'an. As for taking revenge on Lu Chang'an, he must be scared and nervous, but that is not something to consider now. I'm really impressed by you. Qin Yinan didn't say much. Anyway, she couldn't do anything to Lu Chang'an, and Lu Chang'an wouldn't really make her into a meat dumpling. If I want to sleep with his woman, I will sleep with his woman. What can he do to me? Zhu Huntang really couldn't think of any way, so he had to use the spiritual victory method. I'm going to beat you. Qin Yinan was shy and angry, but she actually felt secretly happy. This kind of mentality of a young girl who was pregnant with spring made Qin Yinan slightly angry. What's the difference between this and unrequited love? It's too shameless, obviously. By the way, do you still have king crabs in the kitchen? Qin Yinan changed the subject. How could I know? Ask Zhang Jiai or Zhongqing for me. If you have one, send one over. I'll try it first. Although there are small king crabs, the larger ones can easily weigh dozens of kilograms. Even if they are professional seafood chefs, not everyone deals with it often either. King crabs and king crabs are not the same thing. King crabs are crabs with authentic bloodlines. King crabs are not crabs by biological definition, but just crustaceans. Zhu Huntang sat there without moving, holding the phone between his 2 feet and lifting it up, reaching above his head. He was about to reach out to take it, but he didn't clamp it securely. The phone fell down and hit it on the face. Zhu Huntang sniffed and tried not to cry. Why was he so unlucky today? Lu Chang'an slowly walked down the mountain. When he reached the mountainside, he saw Sister Lan driving a red SUV and slowly stopped in front of him and asked him if he wanted to take a car. Lu Chang'an declined. In the cold winter, Lushan no longer has fiery red maple leaves, but there are still many evergreen plants all year round, making the entire mountain peak still immersed in deep green color. Those trees with dense crowns and leaves and rugged branches often grow together, as if one is feeding and the other is absorbing. Like a loyal spare tire and a goddess. Observing carefully, everything in the world embodies common scenes among human beings. Sure enough, human beings are born and raised here, and they cannot transcend the laws of nature. Thinking about all this, Lu Chang'an came to the hotel where he met Li Hongfang that day, sat down in the lobby bar of the hotel, ordered a pot of tea and a stack of snacks and started eating. Because some book friends have asked similar questions before, I would like to explain that the three words lobby bar are a noun, not lobby bar. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 583. The tea is scented tea. I looked at the postcard that came with the tea. It said Gao Qunyi's scented tea brand F4. His name refers to the 4 scented teas on which the brand was founded. It seems that Gao Qunyi's marketing ability is quite good. Many hotels are very reluctant to link up with or cooperate with micro-business brands, except for renting their hotel venues. These high-end hotels would rather use cheap tea bags such as Lipton, but it is difficult for them to be willing to put a micro-brand high-quality scented tea into the guest rooms. Those who think F4 is a meme are all old people. Lu Chang'an was drinking tea and eating snacks for a while, when he saw Li Hongfang standing behind the screen from a distance, looking this way. There is still a young lady playing the guhan in front of the screen, but this time she is not playing the meow like a cat. Li Hongfang waved in this direction. Lu Chang'an wiped his hands, looked around, and then walked behind the screen. Li Hongfang saw him following him and continued walking forward without looking back. She couldn't help but worry, why were you looking around just now? Wouldn't that be more eye-catching? Isn't it good to attract attention? If there is really someone watching you here, you can solve it by the way, Lu Chang'an said nonchalantly. Li Hongfang realized that the other party's method of solving problems was different from his own. He could only hide, but the other party did not need to hide. But brother, you haven't found anyone watching you now. Maybe someone has noticed her, Li Hongfang? She felt like she was about to be exposed again here and was ready to change places again. Li Hongfang actually has no real evidence, but this is a woman's intuition. She has a treasure, and everyone looks like she has evil intentions towards her. Can you help me get cured today? Lu Chang'an came here today, and it was not Li Hongfang who took the initiative to contact him, so he came by himself, giving Li Hongfang some hope. Okay, this is not a very difficult thing, but why the situation is caused, what kind of creature it is, and what means it uses to achieve the purpose of absorbing vitality and blood are worthy of study. Li Hongfang turned around excitedly, feeling that a big stone hanging in her heart was about to fall to the ground. It was no less than the last life-saving straw she grabbed to finally pull her to the shore. Go change clothes. Lu Chang'an pointed to Li Hongfang's high-slit cheongsam. This kind of cheongsam is really attractive, but Li Hongfang wore a pair of black safety pants underneath, and Lu Chang'an always felt that the safety pants were exposed openly. It's so ugly. Really, either don't wear something so revealing, or don't wear safety pants. No need to change, I went back directly. The house I rented is nearby, just across the street. Li Hongfang lowered his voice, I have something to show you. Lu Chang'an nodded. Li Hongfang went to the locker and took out her bag. Just as she was about to leave, a woman who also wore a cheongsam but looked like a girl came over and frowned. Li Xiaofang, don't you know that idlers are not allowed in here? You actually bring people here. My friend, I'm ready to leave, Li Hongfang said. What time is it and you're leaving? Do you take me seriously? The woman's eyes looked between Lu Chang'an and Li Hongfang, and she said suspiciously, your boyfriend? No, Li Hongfang shook his head in embarrassment. I don't think so, and you wouldn't admit it in front of me, the woman sneered. What do you mean? Li Hongfang took a deep breath. You know it in your heart, the woman smiled half-heartedly. After all, when we were working together, we didn't need to speak clearly. Li Hongfang looked back at Lu Chang'an, who had a subtle look on his face, and suddenly felt that there was no need to pretend to be a grandson here anymore, and suddenly punched him. I made you spit in my cup. I asked you to say behind my back that I seduced Manager Zhao. I told you I don't wear underwear to work. I told you to call me coquettish. Li Hongfang knocked the woman to the ground, followed by a series of punches and kicks, and let out a fierce breath. You, how dare you hit me? The woman was lying on the ground, watching in shock and horror as Li Hongfang lifted up the two skirts of the cheongsam and tied it around her waist. Who do you think you are? Do you know who I am? I'm in a good mood today. I won't come to work anymore. I'll spare your life. Let me tell you, if I stay here for one more week, you will die by then. I don't even know how he died. Li Hongfang has really thought about this. This woman is really disgusting. In front of Lu Chang'an, she is just an obedient little thief. In front of ordinary people like this, she is a desperate thief. Li Hongfang kicked the woman one last time and left the hotel. That woman is my supervisor and she stares at me all day long. When she walked to the street, Li Hongfang said to Lu Chang'an with some embarrassment. She looked at Lu Chang'an with a subtle look just now and thought it would be better to explain. She didn't want to give him any trouble. Lu Chang'an left the impression that she bullied ordinary people. After all, her life was in his hands. Oh, I just have a habit. There used to be women who fought because of me. Every time I tried to persuade them, the more I tried to persuade them, the more they got beaten. Then I stopped trying to persuade them. I watched them fight, but in the end they were no longer willing to fight. I just remembered the past, Lu Chang'an recalled. Li Hongfang nodded. She thought of the woman Sunangziu. Such a woman really looked like the kind of fierce woman who would fight for him, a girl. Well, this is why I don't want to go to work. In many places, if you want to do a good job, some people will always think that you want to show off and take credit. You just want to be alone quietly, and they think you are not gregarious. If you be enthusiastic, be positive, be kind to others, be willing to help others, and some people treat you like a fool. Li Hongfang said boringly that her supervisor liked that Manager Zhao, but Manager Zhao didn't like her at all, so she thought it was Li Hongfang. Here she comes, taking away her favor. Li Hongfang also knows that her figure and appearance make it easy to attract these ordinary middle-aged men in the workplace. But in fact, how could Li Hongfang take Manager Zhao seriously? Lu Chang'an and Li Hongfang were chatting, and Li Hongfang put down her anxiety. It seemed that Lu Chang'an had no opinion on what she had just done and why she did it. In fact, he didn't have to explain it. Li Hongfang rented a house near the Art Institute, and a girl studying design sublet a single room in the house to Li Hongfang. The living room is quite large, and there are many works of future fashion designers in it. What attracts Lu Chang'an the most is an A-line dress with a pattern based on the theme of Song Dynasty genre paintings. That is the first version of Along the River during the Qingming festival that I took out. Li Hongfang pointed to the skirt and said. Did you make Along the River during the Qingming festival into a skirt? It was Lu Chang'an, and he also bowed his hands to Li Hongfang to express his admiration. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 585. With the prosperity of the cultural and creative industry represented by the Palace Museum online store in recent years, a series of cultural promotion and science popularization, and the broadcast of historical and museum programs, the ability of traditional culture to attract money from modern commercial products has become stronger. This is a good thing. There is no doubt about the ability of Western culture to attract money. Even if we exclude the cultural voice and influence of the Western world, there are merits in looking at its cultural charm objectively, but we cannot favor one and forget the traditions of our country. The elegance of culture is moving. Nowadays, many products do not forget to include some traditional elements when marketing them. It is not uncommon to see some clothing, jewelry, daily necessities, and even cars marked with traditional cultural symbols. Nowadays, when going to the Forbidden City to repair cultural relics, the recruitment requirements are all starting with a master's degree. It's not that you have to have a master's degree to do it, but there are too many people applying, so the screening standards have to be improved. Li Hongfang's industry is actually often related to the restoration of cultural relics. The average thief is only responsible for digging things out, and is often not good at cleaning and repairing. The ones with more experience are like Li Hongfang. Li Hongfang has a good understanding of the culture of the Song dynasty, because she inherited the mantle of Li Daoren. Li Daoren's Qi Xingji records mostly the customs of the Song dynasty. When studying Qi Xingji, Li Hongfang also learned a lot about the culture of the Song dynasty. Knowledge. She knows very well that whether it is the first edition of Along the River during the Qingming Festival, Qingming here, or the Along the River during the Qingming Festival, 4 seasons collected in the Palace Museum, they are actually silk paintings. Although my country has a long history of paper making, due to productivity reasons, it is still very luxurious to use large sheets of paper for painting. It was not until the Yuan dynasty that painters widely used paper for painting. As for the famous rice paper, it only began to be widely used in the Middle and Late Ming dynasty. The most highly regarded paper in the Song dynasty was Qinsentang paper. For example, Li Gonglin's 5 horses picture was made of this kind of paper. However, the national treasures 1,000 miles of rivers and mountains and Along the River during the Qingming Festival, 4 seasons were painted on silk. The collection history of Along the River during the Qingming Festival 4 seasons has been passed down by many people and is quite vicissitudes. Preserving it is a delicate science and requires the top talents in the cultural relic restoration and preservation industry to handle it. But the first edition of Along the River during Qingming Festival, Qingming found in the treasure cache is different. It has been kept in a box. When Li Hongfang opened the ordinary box at the treasure site, she found that it was exactly what she was looking for. She was very upset at the time, because many ancient objects that have been exposed to the light of day will quickly oxidize and be damaged when exposed to the outside air. But this one didn't. Li Hongfang studied it carefully and found that there were some special liquids soaking the painting in the box. However, over the years, the liquids had completely evaporated and soaked into the painting silk, leaving the entire painting still intact. Initial state. She hid in XZ with this painting. After renting a house here, Li Hongfang was inspired by the girl he rented with. She rolled up the painting and made it look like a skirt. She added some other fabrics of similar colors and made it look like a skirt. With the help of that girl, it became what it is now. The girl even used this work as her graduation project, and it was well received. Now it is displayed generously in the rental house every day, and friends of the girl come to visit from time to time. No one knew the true value of the dress. Li Hongfang took off the outermost layer of tulle from the skirt and took apart the hem, revealing a complete Along the River during the Qingming Festival. Lu Chang'an looked at it carefully. Although it was slightly wrinkled, it could still be said to be perfectly preserved. It can be said that Li Hongfang was quite clever in making such a hiding plan in her suspicious state of mind. Who would have thought that the graduation design of an ordinary girl majoring in fashion design would use fabrics from Along the River during the Qingming Festival? Take it away. After Li Hongfang took down the painting, he rolled it up and handed it to Lu Chang'an. Didn't I say you handle it yourself? Lu Chang'an didn't answer. He looked at the painting and thought of many things. But regarding the painting itself, he had no intention of taking it as his own, otherwise he would have already go get it yourself. This is how I handle it, Li Hongfang insisted. Why? Lu Chang'an looked into Li Hongfang's eyes. I'm not the kind of person who sacrifices one thing for the least. My own life is more important. After I got this painting, I couldn't sleep or eat well every day. The value of this painting is too high, and my previous shipping channels are unreliable. Li Hongfang forced a smile and said, I am also in pain, but my life is at stake. That's right. For a weak little female thief like you, holding this thing is no different from a child holding gold to get through the bustling city. Lu Chang'an recognized her reason, so I suggested that you donate it to relevant organizations. Mechanism. I don't dare, for fear of being asked about its origin. In addition, everyone knows that along the river during the Qingming festival is in the Palace Museum. I said this is the first edition of Along the River during the Qingming Festival 4 Seasons, which is specially designed to depict the grand scene of the Qingming Festival in the capital. Who believes it? After Li Hongfang got it, after getting over her excitement, she calmly thought about many questions. In her line of work, if you were not calm-minded and easily impulsive and dominated by excitement, you would have died a long time ago. There is no record in history, and there is no documentary proof. To determine its value, it must be recognized by authoritative institutions in the entire industry, or by professional organizations with great wealth and power in the cultural and entertainment industry. After a series of careful preparations and strategic foreshadowing, it can be let it slowly surface. Lu Chang'an knew very well that this painting is a priceless treasure, and it may even surpass the version in the Palace Museum in the future, but not now. Both Lu Chang'an and Li Hongfang can recognize its value. This value cannot be fully realized in the practical stage. I want to sell it through channels, and the price won't be too high, but I don't have the ability to return it to its rightful historical position. Li Hongfang handed the painting over again. Although I am Li Daoran, a descendant, but you are also a descendant of the Kyushu Wind and Thunder swordsman, you are also a destined person, and you are more capable than me of preserving this painting. Okay, Lu Chang'an agreed and took it in his hand. I'm not at a disadvantage either, because there's more than just this painting in the treasure house. It's much easier to sell other things. I've already sold some things. If you need money, you can also come to me, Li Hongfang said frankly. Of course, there were also some polite words. She knew how someone like Lu Chang'an could ask her for money. There was no need for her to hide anything. He told her everything, and she still needed him to save her life. What if he knew that she was hiding things and refused to tell the truth, and that she would not go all out to save her? Just like many people like to give red envelopes to doctors before surgery, they are still worried if the doctor doesn't accept them. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 586. Lu Chang'an found a red rope and tied up the scroll. Red is festive. Then a red cloth belt was passed through the center of the scroll, tied up at both ends, and then carried on the shoulders. This was a very careful protection for Lu Chang'an. After all, his shoulders are so solid and powerful, just like the marbles that Michelangelo transported from Carrara, northwest of Florence, and piled in the square in front of St. Peter's Basilica. This is a joking metaphor, because Michelangelo later this pile of marbles was heavily in debt and finally fled Rome to express the ridicule that many women relied on Lu Chang'an's shoulders, but also made him deeply in love and dead. Fei Shui. Do you need me to promise you anything else? Li Hongfang hinted urgently. We'll talk about it later. Let me treat your injuries first. Li Hongfang nodded shyly, and that was true. There was such a large piece of dead skin on her back, so he had no interest in it. He must have cured it first. So Li Hongfang came to unzip the back of the cheongsam and walked to his room, looking back at Lu Chang'an. Get changed, let's go to Hunan University. Lu Chang'an turned around and showed her wound to him again. There was nothing interesting to see. Li Hongfang was a little surprised. She felt like she had misunderstood. I hurried back to the room and changed my clothes. The sky gets gloomy early in winter, and before dinner time, the street lights on the street are already on, emitting a soft light. The pace on campus is always slower. The private cars and buses that pass through the campus streets also slow down. The men and women coming and going are basically students from several nearby universities, and they are full of youthful atmosphere. Do you feel a lot of yearning and closeness to these young bodies? Lu Chang'an asked. Li Hongfang nodded and smiled regretfully. It's a pity that I'm past the age to enjoy it on campus. I'm not asking you to express these emotions, I just mean that your body has been eroded and has been losing vitality, so the body instinctively longs for replenishment and is coveting these young and vigorous flesh and blood bodies, Lu Chang'an explained. Fan. Li Hongfang was startled, and her teeth were trembling. After Lu Chang'an's explanation, Li Hongfang found that there seemed to be such a desire hidden in her body. In fact, what she longed for the most was the aura emanating from Lu Chang'an. Originally, Li Hongfang thought that she had been prompted by Lu Chang'an's request for her to sacrifice herself, and her body was ready to accept it, so she felt like this. Now it seems that, this is actually the case. Li Hongfang quickly asked, then, what does this mean? Scientific research is about making bold guesses and careful verification. I have no evidence at the moment. I just wonder if, without treatment, you will be dominated by this body instinct and eventually become a monster that absorbs human vitality. Maybe that's it, the purpose of this mysterious creature, or its method of expanding its own tribe, is not just to torture you, Lu Chang'an guessed. Lu Chang'an also knows a little monster with such characteristics, but now she spends all day playing cards, eating, and learning makeup from Zhou Shuling. Lu Chang'an doesn't want to communicate with her. He wants to ask her something, but she doesn't. Nothing can be done to help. Brother, stop scaring me. If it weren't for him on the street, Li Hongfang would have knelt down in front of him. Lu Chang'an didn't say anything anymore. Anyway, she wouldn't understand him if he talked too much. If she wanted to ask, he would have to explain to her. Lu Chang'an led Li Hongfang to Sunangziu's glass house. Isn't this Sunangziu's place? Li Hongfang didn't know what Lu Chang'an wanted. She had been controlled by Sunangziu for a while and did things for Sunangziu. Of course she knew this glass house very well. You may not know that she is also a top-notch biologist in the field of abnormal organisms. Lu Chang'an stood in front of the glass house and just looked up at the surveillance robots crawling on the wall. They adjusted their angles to let their respective cameras' components cover the area where Lu Chang'an is standing from different angles. Li Hongfang really didn't know. She always thought that she was just a cruel and beautiful girl who came from a super wealthy family, and she had a lot of terrifying resources in her hands. It's true that people can't be judged by their appearance. Li Hongfang glanced at Lu Chang'an again, and the same thing happened to this little brother. Otherwise, why would Sunangziu be so in love with Lu Chang'an? Li Hongfang still remembers Sunangziu's sour and angry expression that day when she and Sunangziu were monitoring Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui, who were rowing on the lake. Why bother? Li Hongfang just sighed like this, but she also thought that once someone like Lu Chang'an fell in love with him, even she would be unable to sigh why bother and would be deeply involved, right? Fortunately, there was a big age gap between me and him, and there was no ambiguity between men and women from the beginning. Even if I thought about it wildly in the past 2 days, the misunderstanding was quickly cleared up. I don't have any suitable equipment at hand, so the injury on your back needs to be observed by her. What's more, I know that the person you said is watching me is probably her. Lu Chang'an smiled. In that case, then just do things under her nose, so as not to make her suspicious, if I hide with you and do something, she might really discover your injuries later, and then treat you as a research subject, and slice him into pieces from time to time, or the kind that observes your lesions. Li Hongfang couldn't help but get closer to Lu Chang'an, her eyes evasive. After she got Lu Chang'an's news about the treasure place, she ran away directly without informing Sunangzio or contacting Sunangzio again. She originally wanted to take the opportunity to get rid of Sunangzio. How could she know? Finally, I delivered it to my door. But what can be done? Again, life matters. The glass door opened, and it was still the robot with blonde hair who greeted Lu Chang'an and Li Hongfang. Hello, we meet again. I am the latest model. I am the one who is most satisfied with the owner. You can call me Jincoin, Xiaojin, or Florine. The robot greeted Lu Chang'an. Hello, since you are the latest model, why are we meeting again? Lu Chang'an also greeted it. Because the audio and video data of the robot that met you before was transferred to my memory, of course we have met again, robot Xiaojin explained. That's right, Lu Chang'an agreed. She is really a robot. Looking at the lifelike skin texture, Li Hongfang was amazed. Is this actually a robot? Yes, it says its name is a florine, which was the currency of 16th century Florence and was also a gold coin. Blood ancestor, you are really knowledgeable and talented. Lu Chang'an ignored the robot. These robots were really persistent and they all liked to call Lu Chang'an the blood ancestor. Li Hongfang was full of doubts, but she didn't ask any more questions and just followed Lu Chang'an. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 587. Leading the way with gold coins, Lu Chang'an and Li Hongfang met Sunangzio in a laboratory. This is not the room where Qinyanan was examined last time. There is no hospital bed here, only various precision instruments, and a whole wall of monitors. Several staff members sit in front of the monitors and pay attention to the screen content, all kinds of life. Animals in different environments. Sunangzio was wearing white work clothes, with one hand in his pocket and lazily looking at a roll of experimental data. Sunangzio gradually understood Lu Chang'an. As he lived longer, he accumulated more and more wealth, and even felt that it would become a whirlpool, absorbing the wealth of the whole world. However, he became more and more aware of the sense of accomplishment that could be gained in this process. It feels like it doesn't matter anymore. She wanted Zhu Huntang to be responsible for something so that she could get out of it and have more energy and time to focus on the research projects she loved. The more Sunangzio thought about it, the angrier she became. She felt that she was not as good as Lu Chang'an when it came to cultivating her body and mind, and now she wanted to deal with Zhu Huntang again. Good evening, have you eaten? Lu Chang'an greeted Sunangzio in a traditional way. I want to eat black-bone chicken and ginseng soup, can you make it? Sunangzio adjusted her glasses. She was not short-sighted, and these glasses were not for decoration. I haven't done it for a long time, maybe it's not to your liking, Lu Chang'an smiled. Chicken soup is still made as chicken soup. It still suits my appetite, but the people who drink it are different, right? Sunangzio also smiled. At that time, when we were making chicken soup, we first considered what kind of water to use. Now we have to find a good chicken first. According to the way we made it back then, the chicken soup we made will not taste like it did back then. Lu Chang'an looked at Sunangzio, smile calmly. Sunangzio turned her head to look at the monitor on the side, adjusted her glasses, and turned around with her smile unchanged. Let's get down to business. The moment Sunangzio spoke again, her smile turned into a cold calmness. Lu Chang'an pointed to Li Hongfang beside him. I saw her. Miss Su, I have been busy recently and have been away for a while. Li Hongfang felt beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The conversation between Lu Chang'an and Sunangzio just now sounded ordinary, but it felt like there was something exciting inside. In the end, Sunangzio seemed to be in a bad mood, which made Li Hongfang especially nervous. Miss Su always exuded a dangerous sense of oppression, and it seemed that she would not mind using any means to deal with people who made her angry. If nothing happened to Lu Chang'an, Li Hongfang couldn't do it. Yes, I understand. Su Nangxiu frowned slightly. What's wrong with you? It's something, it's okay. Is anything going on? She always feels like someone wants to kill her, and she's not sure if it's your people who are chasing her, Lu Chang'an explained. Why should I hunt you down? Su Nangxiu looked at Li Hongfang in surprise. Li Hongfang didn't know how to explain. Actually, how can I care about your life and death? Even if there is something wrong with you, I don't need to pay special attention to it, let alone I personally gave the order to kill you. Su Nangxiu waved his hand. No matter what, I will give the order and no one will continue to stare at you. Thank you, Miss Su. Li Hongfang pressed her chest. Compared with other potential dangers, Li Hongfang was most afraid of people from Su Nangxiu. She met Su Nangxiu's people by chance, maybe they were not human at all. There is one more thing that I think you might be interested in. Lu Chang'an pointed at Li Hongfang. She suffered a very strange injury on her back. Su Nangxiu showed no interest, but showed a teasing smile to Lu Chang'an. Do you think you are asking me for help? Not really. Lu Chang'an said with a smile. I originally wanted to do the research myself, but there seems to be no way to hide it from others. Sooner or later, some people will pay attention. In order to prevent her from being self-righteous, making her own decisions, and accidentally hurting innocent people, I'd better send someone here. Then you still know some of the people you're talking about, but it doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. Su Nangxiu paused, waved her hand, and signaled the staff to leave. It doesn't hurt if I take a look. Li Hongfang turned around and took off her coat and cotton shirt, revealing the injuries on her back. Su Nangxiu took a look at her glasses, then moved closer to observe carefully. From the outside, it looks like a sun-bear scratch, but from the analysis of the photos and comparing it with our database, there were 3 similar incidents where such injuries occurred. Photo analysis. My glasses have a camera function. After taking the photos, they will be uploaded to the processing center for analysis and comparison. Su Nangxiu explained. Blinking continuously means taking photos. In recent years, AR and AI technology have advanced by leaps and bounds. This is not a new technology. Technology is not new. Your advantages in information processing and systems are the greatest. Lu Chang'an has always been interested in the cutting-edge products of human technological civilization. Yeah, it's not perfect. There is still a lot of room for improvement in technology. Su Nangxiu and Lu Chang'an chatted for a few words. At this time, more information was sent over. Su Nangxiu put on his gloves and said, I want to get after careful analysis of a few samples. We cannot be sure by comparing data alone. Su Nangxiu took samples from the wound location on Li Hongfang's back more than 10 times, and then handed the samples to Jingcoin for further examination. Wait for the results. Su Nangxiu put on her gloves and said to Li Hongfang. Can we just wait for the results? Li Hongfang whispered to Lu Chang'an. Of course, what she needed was not the test results, but to make this situation disappear. That's not 3 days. You stay here and you cooperate with the treatment within 3 days. I'm very sure that I can cure it. Su Nangxiu said to Li Hongfang. If I can't do it by then, I guess he won't. In spite of. Lu Chang'an nodded. Seeing Lu Chang'an nod, Li Hongfang felt relieved and said to Su Nangxiu, okay, please trouble Miss Su. You are also the safest here. Do you mean there are still people who are looking for trouble for you? Su Nangxiu asked. Yes, I recently sold something, and the news probably leaked out. Li Hongfang didn't have to worry about Su Nangxiu falling in love with her stuff. In a sense, Su Nangxiu and Lu Chang'an are actually very similar. What they value is not what she can provide, and what she can get is what they don't care about. I can let someone deal with it, but I need to know, what is your relationship with Lu Chang'an? Su Nangxiu didn't think Lu Chang'an would bring someone to her who had nothing to do with him. He was not the kind of person who would do anything casually. He was a kind-hearted person, but Li Hongfang didn't seem to have enough looks to tempt him. After the old friend Lu Chang'an explained for Li Hongfang. After an old friend? Shouldn't it be said that there is friendship between ancestors? After being an old friend, he seemed to be introducing Li Hongfang from the perspective of an elder. The strange thing is that Sunangxiu didn't feel there was a problem. After Lu Chang'an said it, she seemed to be relieved, and her eyes when looking at Li Hongfang became calmer and gentler. Forget it, they are all very human, and it is normal for them to have difficulty understanding themselves. Li Hongfang thought this and stopped thinking about it. Whether it's long or short, this is also the third update. Please give me monthly votes. The deadline is at 8 p.m. on the 17th. If the monthly votes can reach 3,100 votes, there will be a third update tomorrow, and the number of words will be higher than today. I recommend a book, My Life as a Nanny. Everyone dreams, but Fang Yuan had a special dream, and everything in the dream will appear in reality. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 588. The robot gold coin took Li Hongfang out of the laboratory and told Li Hongfang that she could move freely, but it was best not to run too far to facilitate the inspection. In addition to laboratories and related equipment places that require permission to enter, she could also go to the underground base. Gardens and fitness areas, entertainment areas to pass the time. Lu Chang'an did not leave immediately, but was chatting with Sunangxiu. Lifetime is not limited to 100 years, so there is no such thing as a separation between old age and death. Although it is impossible to be lovers again and renew our relationship, let's talk about everyone's unique experiences and thoughts on the development of civilization in a longer life. There is no problem. At that time, our exploration methods for preparing ES cells were mainly focused on the use of somatic cells. Lu Chang'an recalled, we mainly used the contents of mature egg cells and early embryonic cells, hoping to use these substances to achieve the goal of somatic cells reprogramming, but after many attempts, I still made little progress. The current ES cell preparation technology is basically based on somatic cell nuclei, using fetal fibroblasts, cumulus cells, and adult epithelial cells. The mature oocyte environment and nuclear reordering factors are used to complete somatic cell reprogramming. Form the reconstructed embryo, and then use the cells of the reconstructed embryo to isolate ES cells. Sunangxiu took off his glasses and picked up a volume of information. If you are interested, you can take a look. You are talking about mainstream technologies that only appeared after 2006, right? I haven't been exposed to related majors for so many years. I feel like a freshman who walks into the laboratory for the first time. Everything is new. Lu Chang'an did not answer the question and thanked him with a smile. I should learn slowly while taking professional courses in school. Facing the top experts in the industry, Lu Chang'an is not arrogant and refuses to bow. In the field of explosion of new knowledge, the authority of the past does not mean that it will still be the authority after 20 years of no progress. The previous mainstream and advanced technology, until now, it may just be a misconception that it is too backward to be eliminated. You are so humble. I took away many of your research materials when I was at Hunan University, such as the anti-aging research on reversing insulin resistance in intestinal cells, which was of great help to us. As long as there are resources and conditions, learning new technologies and it is not difficult to master, but we all know that the most difficult thing is to correctly grasp the research direction and find a new way of thinking, which cannot be learned by studying. Sunangxiu said with some expectation, if one day, we can work together, we might be able to become living gods, create species, and destroy species. Lu Chang'an knew that this was Sunangxiu's ambition. She had always been like this. When she was more than 10 years old, She was so ambitious that she wanted to swallow up the Ye family and subvert Jiangnan shopping mall, let alone now. Only the ceiling of human technological development can limit her ambition. When you start to have the power, you will want to become a god. But have you ever thought about what you will pursue after becoming a god? Lu Chang'an didn't think there was anything wrong with Sun Nangxiu's idea. It was normal. Even if there is a problem, it is her business, and Lu Chang'an has no intention of correcting it until it suits his liking. Sun Nangxiu hesitated for a moment. She really had not thought about this problem, but she still said unwillingly, "Isn't the point of enjoying the process of pursuit? It's like climbing a mountain. Is it because you stand on the top of the mountain for too long and you get tired of it? If you lose sight of the scenery and walk down sooner or later, why don't you climb up? You're right, you can try anything, even if it's the pursuit of becoming a god. What's not to do?" Lu Chang'an had always admired her mentality of not setting limits for herself. Sun Nangxiu's eyes were shining with anticipation again. "When one day you climb to the top of the mountain and become the scenery, I will look up to you at the bottom of the mountain." Lu Chang'an cupped his hands. Women nowadays have so many ideas. This is the progress of the times, the true awakening of women's independent consciousness. Relatively speaking, when a woman like Sun Nangxiu demands equality between men and women, no one can object, or she does not need to demand it. What she wants is not equality, but enjoyment of privileges, no, using privileges as a tool. Enjoying privileges is just what ordinary people pursue. Sun Nangxiu glared at Lu Chang'an angrily. She absolutely did not believe that he was not interested in the pinnacle of natural science. He just had no interest in climbing with her. Sooner or later she will prove to him that she is the best collaborator, no one else. "You must be looking up at the scenery at the foot of the mountain, and you are traveling with beauty," Sun Nangxiu said. "Even though many landscapes are different in 4 seasons, they have not changed much over the years. Apart from accompanying different people to see the scenery, there is not much freshness in the scenery itself." When Lu Chang'an mentioned the word fresh, he said casually, "Recently, it was reported that millions of king crabs were found in a trench near Antarctica. This must be a part of the changing scenery under the glacier. It is not known whether they can evolve there, or whether they are just resurrected as the ice cap melts. Food reserves seduced by species." His words made Sun Nangxiu feel a little unkind, but his view on the large number of king crabs appearing in the trench near Antarctica attracted more attention from Sun Nangxiu. Sun Nangxiu has also seen this report, and the one who reported this discovery was the Environmental Observation Organization she controlled. However, all the focus was on whether the invasion of alien species would affect the ecological stability of Antarctica. Human beings always feel that the ecological environment and species structure on the Earth need their own protection, but they have never thought about whether there were former overlords of the Earth silently peeping, lurking, or waiting for opportunities in some places that humans have not been able to pry into or have not discovered yet. After meeting Mrs. Karnstein, Xiaokai Sunan knew that his life was far longer than he imagined. Mrs. Karnstein thought that the years he had experienced were unimaginable because, according to their own research, the special genes in his body invaded them. The genetic sequence contains some ancient traces. Even though he has not followed the development of modern biological science, compared with many creatures known as living fossils, he is a real living fossil, and the biological data he possesses is of immeasurable value. "What's under the ice cap of Antarctica?" Sun Nangxiu asked curiously. "Captain America. Captain America is in the northern hemisphere." Sun Wukong. Sun Nangxiu stared at him and refused to say no. Finding undiscovered ancient species was not her main research direction anyway. "Let's talk about some gossip. Do you like Nuan so much just because she is good looking?" Seeing that he was unwilling to talk about serious matters with her, Sun Nangxiu changed the subject. "How gentle and considerate she is. How many women are like this? With such a big heart, you can calmly talk to your man about another woman he likes. She is still a beautiful girl of 18 years old, as young and fresh as a flower bud. Do you need any other reasons? Lu Chang'an nodded. This is such a pure, just and truth-like reason. I always feel that there is something wrong with her and her mother's existence, but I can't pinpoint the details. Sunangxiu frowned slightly. Really, Lu Chang'an felt nothing. Give me a monthly pass, a subscription, and a regular recommendation. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 589. Sunangxiu wanted to gossip about An Nuan and Lu Yuang, but Lu Chang'an had no such interest. The more he talked to Sunangxiu, the more interested Sunangxiu would be in them, which was not a good thing. An Nuan and Lu Yuang are ordinary. Lu Chang'an is just an ordinary 18-year-old boy. What's wrong with choosing an equally ordinary campus beauty as his girlfriend? Whether you've eaten or not, I haven't eaten anyway. I'm going home to eat. Lu Chang'an waved goodbye as he walked out. In the hotel where Li Hongfang worked, I drank Gao Yenang scented tea and some snacks, which were not enough to stuff between my teeth. Lu Chang'an stepped on the cold wind of winter night and returned home. Zhou Shuling bought an electric heating table and placed it in his living room. Of course Lu Chang'an is not afraid of the cold, but Zhou Dongdong often watches TV or does homework downstairs. The windows of his house are open all year round, and the temperature difference between the inside and outside is not big. Zhou Shuling saw the electric heating table today and bought one. But Shang Guandandan seems to be enjoying it the most. Most of her body is stretched out under the electric heating table, only her head is exposed. She is lying on her back watching TV, her eyes are half open and half closed, and she is holding her beloved thermos in her arms, like a lazy cat by the stove in winter. Dongdong said that this is the most comfortable position to sit next to the electric heating table. Shang Guandandan saw Lu Chang'an coming back and explained that her paralyzed posture would not damage the Queen Mother's elegance. Lu Chang'an nodded. The electric heating table is a table-shaped heating device with a heating module embedded in the tabletop. There is also a panel at the bottom of the table legs for foot pedals. There are also heating modules embedded inside the panel, and multiple heating modes can be selected. The electric heating table was covered with a thermal blanket, covering all sides tightly. At this time, a corner of the blanket was lifted, and Zhou Dongdong crawled out. When he saw that Lu Chang'an did not bring anything delicious, he crawled out again. Went back. Is there anything to eat? Lu Chang'an asked Zhou Shuling, who was sitting aside. You haven't eaten yet? It's already this o'clock. Zhou Shuling was about to stand up. I left half a bowl of bacon for Dandan's meal upstairs at night. Can I cut up some chicken for you? No. Lu Chang'an held Zhou Shuling's shoulders with both hands, preventing her from moving. He stood behind her and took a look, and couldn't help but laugh. Beauty makeup tutorial. What's so funny about this? Zhou Shuling was a little embarrassed, but this was obviously his problem. What's so funny about women watching beauty tutorials? It's not funny. My smile means encouragement and expectation. Lu Chang'an patted her shoulder to express encouragement. You continue to watch, I will get the beef myself. It's up to you, Zhou Shuling said angrily, not looking at the encouragement, but feeling the expectation, but what she expected was not a good thing. Lu Chang'an went upstairs to Zhou Shuling's kitchen and took the half bowl of bacon, heated it in the microwave, and went downstairs to get leftover rice, eggs, and black bean sauce to stir-fry rice. The tempeh I'm using now was used to pay off the 15 yuan my old lady Lu owed during a card game. The tempeh that Lu Chang'an made himself cannot be eaten yet. After it is sealed in the jar, it cannot be opened until at least a year later. If the time is long enough, the aroma will be richer and the taste will be more mellow. Lu Chang'an came to the electric heating table and sat down with a large soup bowl and a full bowl of rice. Zhou Dongdong crawled out from below and lay on the edge of the table, watching. You eat first. Lu Chang'an put down the bowl. Zhou Dongdong ran to the kitchen, took out a small bowl, held it in both hands and raised it high. Lu Chang'an brought the small bowl over and gave some to her. You have already eaten 3 bowls of rice tonight, Zhou Shuling said to Zhou Dongdong. We eat 3 bowls of white rice at night. Here is fried rice with meat. You can also have 3 bowls of fried rice. Zhou Dongdong said that white rice and fried rice are not the same thing and do not conflict. I only give you this bowl. Don't you remember the time when you ate too much and your intestines broke? Lu Chang'an said. My intestines are broken. Zhou Dongdong was startled, as if such an incident had happened before and he couldn't remember clearly. Later I helped you pick it up again. How did you connect it? Zhou Dongdong lowered his head and touched his belly. Like a knot in a rope. Ah! Zhou Dongdong accurately expressed his emotions of gratitude and lingering fear. Dongdong is so silly, so cute. Shang Guandandan touched his thermos and chuckled. Lu Chang'an's eyes circled around the faces of the 3 people in front of him, and finally fell on Shang Guandandan. Especially here, Shang Guandandan had no self-awareness, and he still had the nerve to laugh at others, but they were all the same. After Zhou Dongdong finished her meal, she ate the 3 slices of beef that Lu Chang'an fed her, put the small bowl back in the kitchen, and then got under the electric heating table again. Lu Chang'an finished a bowl of rice and took a look at the thermal blanket on the electric heating table. Zhou Dongdong was sitting on Shang Guandandan's legs, reading a book with a small flashlight in his hand. What a good kid who loves learning. Lu Chang'an ignored her, put down the blanket, and looked up at Shang Guandandan. Do you want to drink my effervescent water? Shang Guandandan patted the thermos pot and said. She is now very rich. In the past, she only put 1 effervescent tablet in every time she brewed a large pot of water. Now she puts 3 tablets in it. After taking 3 slices, Shang Guandandan found that it tasted much better than the first one. Lu Chang'an shook his head. Zhou Dongdong told Shang Guandandan that sitting paralyzed in front of the electric heating table was the correct posture. It was because Shang Guandandan was sitting like this, and Zhou Dongdong had a very comfortable angle underneath. Leaning on Shang Guandandan's legs. Zhou Dongdong finally got smart once and successfully fooled the stupid queen mother. Lu Chang'an was very pleased. From now on, I give you the lovely name of stupidity, while wit and bravery belong to Zhou Dongdong, Lu Chang'an said to Shang Guandandan. You're stupid. Shang Guandandan wanted to touch the thermos pot again, but when he put his hand on it, he automatically opened the lid, poured a glass of effervescent water and drank it himself. After you put on makeup today, did you take any selfies? Lu Chang'an turned to me, Zhou Shuling. No. Zhou Shuling smacked the hand that came to hold her phone, and then continued to watch the beauty tutorial. Today, after practicing with Shang Guandandan, she washed her face in time. The 3 people sat around the electric heating table, and one of them was under the table, chatting away. Later, Zhou Dongdong strongly requested to sleep under the electric heating table tonight, but Zhou Shuling dragged her back. Lu Chang'an was about to go to bed. He lay on the bed and exchanged messages with An Nuan for a while. Later, An Nuan sent some photos she had taken in the past 2 days, all of them were her own. So Lu Chang'an chatted with her in high spirits until a little later, then made an appointment to have breakfast together tomorrow morning, said good night to each other and went to bed.